Hello and welcome to my Fortress Knight guide. In this guide we're going to go over the Fortress Knight, what it's good at, when to use it, and why to use it if you want to, the pros and cons of using it, as well as some basic combos, setup, and some ideas for tactics that make this unit good. Alright, so this is an axe class, as you can see here. It is also an armored class, so anything that counters axe, anything that counters armor will be more effective against it. It also inherently counters lance, as you can see here. There's a soldier with a lance, and we have an advantage against him. It has high defense. It's very tanky versus all physical attacks. It has low resistance and tends to suffer against magic units. However, if a unit you are using has good resistance, it will reduce its resistance, but not by so much that it's like going to just get like 1 or 2 shot by magic. It'll just be like not as good against mages, but you can always reposition. Like if you know how to fight mages, if you're controlling it, you can fight mages. If it's AI controlling it, it can't. So that's kind of the difference. You have a class gauge that charges and stores up to 2 icons. In this case, the shield icons. The charges over time when guarding or taking damage. Perfect guard instantly fills it. So it just kind of charges. Like there's a lot of ways to charge it, which is nice. The effect of it, like its effect is good, but I feel like getting more charges doesn't really help you once you have the effect out, because the attack doesn't really get enhanced. It just creates like this reduction zone. So we'll get into that in a minute. For the basic attacks, you have Y attack, just some horizontal damage, horizontal low damage. Your second Y, an angled upward slash that deals a little bit more damage. Your third Y, an angled downward slash that deals even more damage. So you have damage scaling on your attacks like you would expect. Your fourth Y is a shield bash that does kind of medium damage. So you can see there it is. Fifth Y, it's kind of this like quick stab that does good damage. 6Y is a kind of like slam down that doesn't bounce, but it has like the meteor style of attack where it's just like a ground pound attack. And then 7Y, let's not get interrupted by the monk. 7Y, oh, I'm sorry. I stopped at 6Y. There we go. 7Y is a shield charge into a shield bash. It takes forever to get to 7Y on this class because the attack's so damn slow. But when you do, it's pretty decent. It helps you reposition, which is something that you want to be doing in general. But it is a very slow attacking class. It does have okay damage. It doesn't have the best damage. It's not going to be competing with damage carries. But its damage is respectable enough that if you switch to it really quick, you can start comboing something down. Okay, so for the shield slam, or the X attack, so here's 2 shields. The barrier lasts for around a minute 15 from when I tested. It was either a minute 15 or minute 30, but it's over a minute, so it's quite a long duration. When you consume 2 shields, the damage reduction is around 60% physical damage reduction. So right now he's hitting like 3s and 5s on us, the soldier, so like pay attention to that. Now he's hitting like 13s. So actually, in some cases, it seems to be closer from like 60 to like 70%, which is really high. So it's quite insane how much damage reduction you get from this. The one shield seems to be around like 20 to 30%. So if you use this when fighting like Byleth or Death Knight, and your entire team is in this is a massive damage reduction. And you can also tell the difference between the two based on the color. So the tier 1 is like kind of like dull green, like almost like the color of like a ghoul or something, and then the other tier 2 is like vibrant green, so you can visually see the difference. If you're in both of them, like if I go into intersecting damage reductions, the effect doesn't stack. So let's go into this one now. Let's just stay in this one. So you can see there I'm taking more damage. Perfect guard does instantly fill the gauge, so you can kind of just like bait out a perfect guard. There we go. And get your damage reduction down after perfect guarding. Perfect guarding, this is like one of the classes that wants the perfect guard a lot. So if you can get the abilities that make perfect guarding easier, if you can get provoke so that enemies attack you more frequently, that'll help you. Perfect guarding in general isn't the best way of shutting things down. The best way of shutting an enemy down is use combat arts on them. You're invincible while using combat arts, and dealing damage and interrupting enemies is way better than baiting guards and waiting for guards. Also, getting perfect dodges tends to be better because you get damage increase. So if I get like a perfect dodge into like a combat art, if I can get a crit boosted combat art, that's way better damage. Let's see if we can pull that off here. Just trying to wait for an attack, but it can be hard to like force a perfect dodge because sometimes enemies delay attacks more frequently depending on if you're in mock battle or not, or if you're in like early game. So looks like we're not able to get one right now. Just kind of just getting hit a bit. Well, there you go for that. All right, so YX, basic launcher. This is the case for most classes. YYX is like a downward shield slam that does decent damage. It can bounce enemies. 3YX is this like 2-hit slash. So here it is. So it does like 2 slashes. The second slash has much further range than the first. So there's that. You have 4YX, which kind of does this like uppercut, this like spinning uppercut that has a small AoE. It seems to do really high damage. Visually, it's kind of underwhelming, but it actually does hit really hard. Like, it's not as cool as some of the other, like, deeper chains. Then you have 5YX, so you can see if you hit left bumper plus X, you can see your class abilities, like your attacks and everything. Alright, so 5YX is very similar to 4YX, so much so you probably can't even tell the difference. The only difference is that it's, like, horizontal instead of vertical. So, like, here's 4YX. It's like a launcher. And then 5YX. I honestly, it's so hard to tell the difference sometimes. There it is. It's like a kind of spin. So it has the same like cloud effect, like VFX, but it's more like horizontal, whereas the other one's more vertical. The damage is similar. Honestly, I think 4YX is just better in most situations, because it comes out faster and it does similar damage and effect, so you might as well just do that. Alright, so for class tactics, this class is pretty simple. Medium damage, medium mobility. It's great against physical classes, so if there's a lot of physical classes, you could run it. Depending on the unit, you may have good res from leveling up and just from like base stats. Attack at an angle, avoid getting hit, very standard melee stuff. So if you can kind of move around things while they're attacking to avoid getting hit while hitting them, like this, that's always better. And you can use your 4Y and 5YX to increase your attack range to hit foes that you're just out of range of. Okay, so this class is kind of a sitting duck while attacking to some degree. It's probably one of the slowest. It attacks slowly, so enemies will have an easy time like locking onto you, so you're gonna have to make use of like mobility, like dashing and moving behind things like this to get opportunities, and then actual dashing just to, like, you know, be safe. So like once an enemy commits to an attack, you just get behind it, start whacking it. Pretty simple stuff. The physical reduction zone does affect allies. Consuming 2 shields is really good. This could be really good for fighting, like doing an all-out offensive on like Death Knight or like Byleth, who are physical attackers for the most part. Drastically reducing their damage by 60 to 70% will make killing them and fighting them much easier. Considering the maps that they're on are 8-person maps, like 8-unit maps, it could be worth it just to have one of these as playable, just so you can switch to it to throw down the reduction zone when fighting extremely dangerous bosses. But aside from that, I don't think it's worth using at all. This game emphasizes offense over defense. There's not like defensive tactics that are super viable, because if you want to if you want to just beat maps and you're struggling, then maybe this is helpful. But if you understand the fundamentals of attacking and comboing, you can breeze through this game on hard and maddening pretty easily, even on fresh save maddening. Aside from like the first like chapter, like after you get past the first chapter in fresh save maddening, the game is like not that bad. But this class can still be used as a defender if it needs to hold a position. You can have the AI hold a position. It's very durable, assuming you know it's going to only be attacked by physical. That's really good. The class action can be used after a chain for like quick bursts. So for example, let me not get hit by my weapon counter. There we go. So you can use your X attack after any heavy attack. It comes out very fast, this attack. So let's hit this soldier. So 4YX and 5YX naturally combo into your X class action. And then you can also just like get a... You can start doing normal attacks again. So like basic combos, you can just do like Y, 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 Y. Then just start attacking again, do like a launcher, do like another launcher, smack. Like you can link like X, Y, or YX and YYX tend to be really good to combo into. And then the class action can be used just to like get some extra damage in, like this. So its X attack is pretty good. Like it can get some damage in. It's not going to be as damaging as like an actual damage unit, but its damage is respectable. It's not like terrible. So you get the upside of being extremely tanky as long as you're in the bubble, and then as long as you can get good at perfect guarding, you can rapidly fill your shields, get a big damage reduction zone down, then just like start fighting things. To some degree, you can kind of trade attacks, assuming you're not getting interrupted, because of the damage reduction zone. Like tanking, having high physical defense plus tanking damage with like 70% damage reduction allows you to just trade blows in a lot of situations where units couldn't do that. So if you want to play a class that can kind of oppress enemy physical, it can be good in this way. And of course, like combat arts are always good. But it will also note, like once you leave the zone, you lose your damage reduction. So, but you don't have to stay in there. Like if you're about to kill something, you might as well leave it for a few seconds. So there's that. Okay, so let's go over the abilities, then like wrap up. Alright. I also note you have Impregnable, so you can't be knocked back when performing a strong attack. Pretty useful. That's also true on, oops, I keep hitting the wrong thing. There's too many menus. Let's get in here. Okay. The Armored Knight has that as well. And you do have Lance Buster, so that's cool. Alright. Okay, so Edelgard has Boost Critical, Smite, Apex Axe, and Focus Strike. So Boost Critical increases crit hit rate. So this is good on literally anything. So even if you just want to unlock this on Edelgard, I would recommend that. Boosting your critical hit rate is always good. Apex Axe, increasing the damage with crits, also always good. So even if you just want to go down this tree just to unlock that, that can be useful. So there's that. Focus Strike is just an attack. Combat Art, and then Smite. Dashing inflicts damage. This is kind of interesting. I don't know how much damage it would be, but it's probably just some chip damage, so it's not bad. Alright, let's check out some other units. Okay, so you have Anchor, sometimes automatically guard against an enemy who would otherwise knock the unit back. So this is interesting. So this could be useful if you're getting hit a lot. Smite, same thing as Edelgard, Wild Abandon. So Combat Arts. I'm going to cover Combat Arts in a separate video, so I'm just going to gloss over them here. Alright, we have Defense plus 5, that's pretty decent. We have Phys, so chance of nullifying damage from swords, lances, axes, gauntlets. And it's Dex times 0.25, that's not bad. We also have Focus Strike. We have Anchor and Smite again, so it seems like Anchor, Smite, Focus Strike is pretty common. Yeah, that seems to be like the default. Anchor, Smite, and in this case Wild Abandon. Defense plus 5. It's good to know what each class typically has. Like, so if you wanted to get Phys, for example, or Defense plus 5 for like, you know, a unit to help it be more tanky, that could be useful. Like one way to look at Phys in this game especially, I think in actual Fire Emblem it's just okay, because its chance isn't that high, but in this game you're getting hit constantly, So like if you're in a crowd of like 50 enemies, and even if you only have like a 10% chance of this proccing, that's still, you know, a huge damage reduction for, and especially if it's like actual enemy units that hit really hard. Nullifying damage in this way, like putting it on like a thing throughout the course of a game, this would be useful. Objectively, this would be good for, like, you know, putting on an AI that's going to be getting smacked a lot because the AI is really stupid. It's truly really stupid. It gets smacked all the time. Yeah, but it seems like most of the passives are like Anchor and Smite, and then some people have, you know, Defense +5 or Pavis. All of it's pretty good though. Like you can't, like putting these on AI units is really useful. And then Defense +2, then Defense +10. That's pretty crazy. So yeah, that's Armored. I'm sorry, Armored Knight. That's Fortress Knight. As far as like, do I recommend running it? If you're just playing the game normally on hard and maddening, like assuming you're doing New Game plus maddening, I don't recommend it. You can get it for its like masteries if you want, like boost critical in this case, like on Edelgard's good. What's the Luna? That's pretty good. That's really good actually. There's some really useful things, like if Edelgard goes this route. There's some hugely useful things. Like you want to get Axe Prowess. You want to get boost critical Apex Axe. Smite seems, I mean, it's situationally okay, maybe. I don't know if the damage is that good. I still need to test it, but definitely boost critical and Apex Axe. And then here's the other thing too, like you go into Warrior and then Wyvern Rider and then Wyvern Lord, and now you have boosted crits and then, you know, more frequent crits on a highly mobile damage class, which is really good. So yeah, that's it for Fortress Knight. It's decent. You can run it if you want. The damage reduction is huge, but unfortunately this game doesn't really care about damage reduction. There's maybe a few use cases where it's helpful, but usually you're better off just killing things faster, which is unfortunate. But an AI with the damage reduction defending a position could be pretty good, just to like buy you time so that you can capture other things while it defends. So yeah, that's it for this one. If you enjoyed this, definitely like and subscribe. Let me know what you think, and peace.